Hello everyone, it is Briximus Prime back for another McFarlane Toys Spawn action figure video, and today we're going to be taking a look at the Spawn Comics character Soul Crusher, which is the perfect name for this figure because it recently was just Valentine's Day just a couple weeks ago, and my soul's definitely feeling crushed.
They ask you how you are, you just have to say that you're fine when you're not really fine, but you just can't get into it because...
And now taking a look at the packaging here, right up front we've got a plastic window showcasing the figure inside. We've got the Spawn name right there, it says Soul Crusher. Got an image of the figure right there, it says Spawn. Again, still find it weird that it says not a toy, and yet your company's called McFarlane Toys. Nice marketing job there, Todd. Got a nice comic render of Soul Crusher right here on the side, and then another image of the figure itself here on the back of the box. So let's just get on into it by taking a look at the figure itself. And here's taking a look at the accessories included with Soul Crusher. He comes with the standard McFarlane Toys action figure stand with the Spawn logo and a little peg right there. Very nice. And then he also comes with an assault rifle here, which looks like an AK. I'm not quite so sure. Be sure to leave down in the comments if you know, but it does have a bayonet here at the front. And
it looks like something someone would absolutely crush me with in CSGO.
And overall, I like the dry brushing on it. Doesn't look too bad. I don't think it was... Maybe it was overdone a little bit here on the top, but overall, I'm still glad that they still include guns like this with action figures, at least for McFarlane Toys. And then he also comes with a pistol here, which looks kind of like a Desert Eagle, I guess. Again, let me know in the comments if you know the specific names of these guns, or if you can recognize what they look like. And of course, the pistol can store right here in this holster on Soul Crusher, so sadly, the rifle doesn't really have anywhere to go on him. And surprisingly enough, Soul Crusher here doesn't look like anyone's ex. Get it? Because it's a Soul Crusher? Overall, I like the gas mask here. It's done really well. I like those dark, soulless eyes right there. And the hose here is made of a pliable material, so it does move with the head. I also like the hood here. I'm glad that the hood is its own piece with the head, so that when you pose it around, the hood still looks natural no matter how you pose it. That's how I prefer hoods to be on action figures. But I also wish that maybe this guy had an alternate head which had his unmasked face like he has in the comics. But honestly, it's not that big of an issue. Because to be honest, I would have kept him displayed with this face on anyway. While we're on the topic of the hood here, I like the hood and cape and how very mossy it looks. It looks very camo-based. The texturing here is very rough, but very detailed. That's one of the things that McFarlane Toys always does really well, is their sculpted detail on figures. Even right down to the chest here with that shiny armor plating, the pouches, all this like leathery texturing and material, especially here on the pants and here on the gloves. You can see all the wrinkles. That's the thing I appreciate about McFarlane Toys the most, is a lot of the sculpting, specifically when it comes to the Spawn figures, because these have been some of my favorite best looking action figures I've ever owned. He's got these nice knee pads here. Again, I like the pouches. I like how this has a gloss to it as well. Everything looks pretty good. Got right down to the boots. Give you guys a better look at those. Even the back features some very nice details. And again, I like this hose here, and it's very pliable, doesn't interfere with any of the posability at all. It makes the figure look a lot more dynamic. Speaking of the posability, like mentioned before, Soul Crusher has a ball joint at the head, but it only allows him to swivel that far to that side and this far to that side due to the way how the hood is sculpted, but overall, I've been able to get some pretty good poses even just with this articulation. I just would have liked maybe a lot more up and down. Shoulders can rotate forward, they can rotate back. The shoulder pad and this cape do hinder the shoulders a little bit. They can move outward that far. This one goes above more than that one. He does feature a butterfly joint, which you can see shifting around there in the shoulder socket. He does feature a tight bicep swivel. Double jointed elbows, always appreciated. His wrists can rotate and hinge up and down, and if you rotate the peg, they can get some this in and out action. Same thing goes for this hand as well. He has two ball joints right here and right here in the diaphragm. You can see them shifting around in there. And the way how the straps are molded, everything always looks really consistent and natural when you pose his diaphragm. I think that's the best piece of articulation this guy has. And of course, you can use it as a waist swivel as well. Hips can rotate forward. They can rotate back quite a bit, actually. I thought that was surprising. They can move outward pretty far. Sadly, no proper thigh swivel. McFarlane Toys, work on that. Double jointed knees that are very tight. Ankles can move up. They can move down. If you rotate it, he can get some ankle pivot. And he also has some toe articulation as well. So good articulation here on Soul Crusher. It's just the thigh swivel and this limited shoulder articulation could have been improved. Overall, the actual character of Soul Crusher himself, I'm actually not like a huge fan of this figure, and that's why I bought it. I am a fan of Spawn, and I am aware of who Soul Crusher is, and I've read him in the comics, but the main reason I picked up this figure is because Target had him on some random clearance for like $7. Even though I did end up only buying this guy because of his really cheap price, I still would have been willing to pay the full $20 price for this figure if I knew how good he was. And also, another thing about the figure that I also really like is now I have an actual Spawn villain for my Spawn figure to fight with.
Actually, he's more of an anti-hero than he is a villain.
Don't even start with me. Again, I have always appreciated his design from the comics. Here is Soul Crusher compared next to the last McFarlane Toys Spawn figures I took a look at. The McFarlane Toys Mortal Kombat Commando Spawn and the Gunslinger Spawn. And then here is Soul Crusher with the last McFarlane Toys figure I took a look at in general. Here he is with the My Hero Academia powered up Izuku Midoriya, or also known as Deku. That's it for the comparisons. And that is basically it for my review on the McFarlane Toys Spawn Comics Soul Crusher figure. And yeah, overall, I think he is a pretty good figure. I did not realize how good he was for his price, because again, it's a character that you're only going to understand who he is unless you've read the comics, so I can see why this particular figure hasn't really sold very well. But again, I'm pretty sold on it because I've read the comics, and also he just looks like a generic, like, World War II gas mask soldier, to be honest. So you could even use him for that if you really wanted to, if you don't really care about the Spawn character or comics. But I also wanted to get him because I needed a good bad guy for Spawn to fight with, and I think this creates for a pretty good display, in my opinion. There's a lot of people out there who give a lot of flack to McFarlane Toys for having figures that don't really look all that great, but specifically those people are referring to their DC Multiverse. But to be honest, I think that doesn't apply to their Spawn figures. I think their Spawn figures are actually some of the best things they do. I just wish that they had actual freaking thigh swivels. Yeah, if I had to give Soul Crusher a rating, I give him a solid 8 out of 10. Just the articulation just fell short that little bit, but everything else is perfectly fine. So yeah, I do highly suggest you pick up this figure, especially if you were able to find it for the discount price like I did. I think this figure is fantastic for that price, especially for the accessories alone. But overall, don't really got much else to say about him, so thank y'all for watching. This has been Briximus Prime. Hope you enjoyed this new addition to the Spawn reviews, because the last one I did so well. And I'll catch you guys next time.